Rise today to urge my colleagues to support the Currency Exchange Rate Oversight Reform Act S1619, which I'm proud to be an original co-sponsor. I want to thank my colleague and friend, Senator Brown, the senator from Ohio, for his leadership in bringing forward this very, very important legislation. This legislation is about jobs. We all talk about ways that we can increase job opportunity in America. And yes, we got to do a better job in our infrastructure and rebuilding America, our roads, our bridges, our schools, our energy infrastructure, our water infrastructure. That's a very important part of job growth in America. We got to help our small businesses. The president's right to focus a program that will help small businesses because that's the job growth energy in America. But another area that's critically important for us on job growth is trade. I represent the state of Maryland. The Port of Baltimore is an economic engine of our state where we employ many people because of the Port of Baltimore. We want to see products that not only come into America, but we want to see products that leave America for international marketplace. American manufacturers, producers, and farmers can outcompete their competition anywhere in the world as long as we have a level playing field. And if we have a level playing field, we'll not only keep jobs in America, we will create new jobs in America because we can outcompete the world. But we can't do it if we give away a huge advantage to other countries. And currency manipulation allows other countries to have unfair competitive advantage over American manufacturers, producers, and farmers. And that's what this bill is aimed at, to give us a level playing field, to allow us to be able to compete fairly. I also want to acknowledge that this legislation is bipartisan. I think it's nonpartisan. This is legislation that makes sense for our country to keep jobs and create jobs in America. The legislation provides necessary mechanisms to help halt currency manipulation committed by any country. Currency manipulation is an unfair trade practice that reduces the price of imported goods while raising the price of American goods. Madam President, we're talking about giving a discount to our competitors. How do you expect an American manufacturer to be able to compete with an imported product if they get a discount on the price? That's what happens when you arbitrarily undervalue your currency as a foreign competitor. And that is what's happening in America to American manufacturers. Trying to end this is just common sense and will finally allow us to address our net exports, helping reduce trade imbalances and, most importantly, create jobs here in America. Now, of course, China is one of the largest abusers of this type of manipulation. Despite a pledge from China in 2001 to adhere to open and fair trade, it continues to violate global trade rules, which in turn has eroded the U.S. manufacturing base and economy. One of these market-distorting practices in China's efforts to keep its currency severely undervalued. Unlike other currencies, the Chinese yen does not fluctuate freely against the dollar, but is artificially pegged in order to boost China's exports. Bringing the Chinese yuan to its equilibrium level, and that's a 28.5% appreciation, is essential to creating much-needed jobs in this country as well as fair and global marketplace. Let me just repeat this. Because of what China does on pegging its currency to ours, not allowing it to freely fluctuate, Chinese products, in effect, get a 28.5% discount. Now, if you're manufacturing a product and trying to compete with an imported Chinese product, how can you do that if your competitor gets a 28.5% discount? Well, that's what's happening in America today. This legislation would allow those who are being harmed by this unfair trade practice to be able to bring a trade remedy against that unfairly imported product. Inexpensive Chinese imports have caused a great deal of harm to the United States manufacturing sector. New studies show that 2.8 million American jobs, including 1.9 million manufacturing jobs, were lost or displaced over the past decade due to the growing U.S. trade deficit with China, fueled in part by currency manipulation. So we've documented millions of jobs that we've lost. It's been lost because we've allowed, without challenging, China to give discounts to its manufacturers, bringing products into America. Again, if it's a level playing field, American manufacturers, producers can compete, but they can't compete with such an unfair trading practice. Many U.S. industries have been hard hit by unfair trade practices and currency manipulation, impeding their ability to compete here and abroad. The Alliance for American Manufacturing says that addressing this currency manipulation would lead to the creation of up to 2.25 million American jobs, an increase in the U.S. gross domestic product of $285.7 billion, 1.9%, or $190 billion reduction in our annual trade deficit. And finally, an annual deficit reduction of $71 billion, or between $600 to $800 billion over the next 10 years, if sustained. No wonder this is bipartisan. No wonder this is nonpartisan. Here we have just standing up for American manufacturers, allowing them to be on a level playing field. We can not only increase jobs in America, we can not only reduce the trade imbalance, we can also reduce the budget imbalance. All that can be done if we can establish a level playing field, give our manufacturers, producers, and farmers the opportunity to challenge this unfair practice. That's what this legislation does. With figures like this bill is seemingly a non-cost, bipartisan, long-term job measure. This would not only spur economic growth, but economic stability that would ensure a better and more secure future for U.S. manufacturers, workers, and communities. This is really, I think, to keep jobs here in America, but also give us the opportunity of creating more jobs, helping our economy grow. Simply put, this legislation will allow U.S. manufacturers with the ability to use existing countervailing duty laws to obtain relief from injury caused by imported goods, which benefit from currency manipulation as export subsidies, while also providing the U.S. Treasury a new framework for which to identify misaligned currencies. In September 2010, the House adopted a similar measure with overwhelming bipartisan support. Passage here in the Senate will lead to real consequences for countries that abuse currency manipulation and empower the United States to create more of a level economic playing field. Madam President, we can get this done. This is something that can get done. House has already passed it. We have bipartisan support in the Senate. We have the votes to pass it. I just urge my colleagues, let us get this done.